Alright, just to hit a record, hit it into already, because this is Scorpio moon. I just wanted to capture a few thoughts, I think, right now in preparation for a communication. I'm referring more or less to the Facebook post I've made this last week, as I've realized a few things about veganism and just more pieces to the puzzle of the water and urine therapy, distilled waters and urine therapy situation. I see, look, so, okay, first of all, let me just talk about some astrological positions. I started this Facebook post when the moon was in Virgo. I didn't really plan it, I made these posts, and realizing how hot they were. I mean, basically a lot of people were commenting and arguing about things, and there was a lot of, a mix, a diversity of different ideas and thoughts, and I really just, I wanted to reach out and say I appreciate every one of you, even the challenging folks that, disagree or whatever, but I see. And what I wanted to express is just that I see a balance and a harmony here. I see people actually agreeing on points, on major points, yet sort of saying it in different ways. And for example, like I made these headline, the Facebook post, one of them that got a lot of comments was simple headline. I kind of made it this way to just really like bring this trigger to the conversation, to show this trigger word and how this topic is so emotionally charged. And this has been a big, I mean, emotions in general, I think we should be aware of as antenna. Our emotions are the antenna, and if we are triggered by a certain buzzword or topic or whatever it may be, then we need to pay more attention to that and focus on, and just step back from our perception of that, or knowledge, if you will, and just take a few breaths and contemplate on what this is. What is this thing? So I see, this, that actually, like the vegans, because I was vegan, I'm drinking distilled waters in my own urine for 3 years, and really just thinking a lot about health, and expanding my consciousness on various things and connecting with nature as much as I can. But so the balance I see is that vegans are, and we all recognize and see this insanity that we humans do to the animals and our world. We're just destroying nature and life, and our programmed culture and system is just everything that's opposite of nature, and this is definitely no exception. The vegans pointing out the very things that we all just, like the animal, that's the horrendous treatment of animals, and how the factory farms. I am on agriculture. You got to look, to see how this plant and just take it all in, because the New World Order government, whatever you will, is pushing this veganism, and of course they are wanting you to get on the false fake meats like soybean. I mean, this is just absolute insanity. I've never liked these meat substitute crap. If I'm going to eat meat, I want to eat meat. And now I'm exploring this idea of eating raw meat, and raw. I've been doing raw eggs for the last 3 or 4 days, and I'm feeling this difference in my moods, and just these little subtle things. But maybe there's various factors too that always add to your moods, and the moon is a big thing. I was just remembering when moon was going through like Aries, Taurus, Cancer, I was feeling just really, I'm in Louisiana. There's an endless list of things to bitch about here, and I'm in the golf course right now, but around me is the city of New Orleans, and I'm right next to the levee, and it just gets hot and humid down here, and I really don't like a lot of things about Louisiana, but anyway, so I'm just, I was feeling depressed and stuff, and last week I was just hating on everything, and then it seemed like Leo, toward the end of Leo moon and into Virgo is when I started hitting on these water. I first started out with, how distilled waters, which I think we drink way too much in general, and of course there's the very real concerns that there's pollution in our water, so we want to get clean water that doesn't have these chemicals. And ideally in nature we would drink surface water. It's not all that easy to get rainwater unless you have these ponds or whatnot, but it's water that has formed by a particle nucleation, vapor that condenses around a dust, and so it's not actually total distilled pure water, because by the time it reaches the ground it's absorbed carbon and chemtrails and chemical shit from the atmosphere. So and then there's the well water situation. I've tested, most of the well waters I've tested were 130, 200, 275 up in some hard areas in Northern California and rocky areas. But then here in Louisiana I come, and on the North Shore the water is like 20 parts per million, and down to 13 and 14. It's just, I was perplexed when I realized that such pure water could actually come out of the ground in these artesian springs and stuff. And it's almost too clean when I get reverse osmosis or distilled water, or even this well water up that I'm talking about that's 13 parts per million. It's from the aquifer. It dries my mouth when I drink it straight without a little pinch of salt in it. It's like and this has been a big complaint, or not a big, but a complaint in the distilled waters thing. There's questions about how it makes your mouth dry and you feel thirsty after drinking it, and I think that's because of the minerals. It's a universal solvent. The water, and naturally it's hungry and magnetic, and it wants to absorb the minerals from the earth and cleanse, clean things. So when it's pure, the pH, and this is an important point, the pH balance of pure water, it's really neutral, and there's no buffer minerals in it to buffer that pH balance, which I mean that it's very easy to change the pH of pure water. It fluctuates depending on the environment and things that it's exposed to. Your saliva, for instance, has there's minerals and enzymes, and it's a pH buffer, slightly acidic. And okay, so refocus, because I started this video, I want to express some of the deeper emotional, since moon is in Scorpio right now today, until tomorrow, like midday, afternoon, when it goes into Sagittarius. So the depths of the emotional triggers of these topics, like veganism. Okay, so the Facebook post that I made, it says, and it's in bigger letters because it's not so many words. It says, the government wants you to be vegan. They are here to help you. And that got some triggers, and very rightly so, because, there's a lot of people that point to our anatomy as being you know, there's all these different factors about, they're trying to say that we're not carnivores. We're not true carnivores. No, we don't have, you know, sharp claws and these big teeth, which mostly I think are for defense purposes. So our anatomy, you know, we have these rounded fingers, but I think there's a, and even if you look at the herbivore, the true herbivore, their teeth, all their teeth are much fatter and flatter. Like even the front teeth, instead of being sharp like this, especially these canines, even their front teeth are wide, and you know, they're dull and fat. They're not sharp. So I think that human anatomy really shows that we are omnivores in a sense, because a lot of cultures have survived on animal flesh and products. It's Native Americans for one, Eskimos, I think virtually all indigenous cultures, and you know, they've used animal products, meat, and actually I think a large, you know, they ate them raw or lightly cooked. It just warmed, you know. I'm last week or a couple days ago, I had a burger, and I try to get grass-fed. I mean, ideally you want to grow your own and slaughter your own animals, and you know, go through that whole process of understanding what you're consuming. That's a very valid comment. One of the comments I got on there, you know, she's vegan and such. Jennifer, bless her heart. It's just, I'm so thankful for all these friends on my list, you know, even, you know, and all this, let me not get distracted on that whole thought, because, you know, we're always fearing some agent or, you know, manipulation. Our whole entire culture, our whole language has been manipulated, and and I don't know, even if it's a straight up paid by the government CIA agent that's, you know, infiltrated, I'm not saying it's good or whatever, there's a role for it. I'm just saying that it's all part of the experience that that we as creators, you know, it's not that we are the creator, but we are expressions of that which is so of itself. There's no name. All names and all forms are that. It's kind of my general philosophy. And of course, individuality, where each our bodies itself are made up of, you know, 75 trillion cells, they say, different, mostly bacteria and parasite, and even worms, and there's still all this different diversity of enzymes and such. So our bodies is a community of cannibalistic organisms, basically. That's a big trigger word, being cannibal. Oh my God. No, that's not, you know, and there's this question, what's the difference between a human flesh and a pig's? Well, not a whole lot, really. But what's the difference between a chimpanzee and a howler monkey? They share like 98% DNA, and yet there's videos of them, you know, like the big chimps or gorillas and such, eating on the other monkeys and animals. I mean, there's all these, you know, there's no black and white, and this is another big point that's brought up. The black and white that we like to, you know, have this checkerboard division line, you know, we draw these lines in the sand and take one side or the other. Well, it's way more complex than that. It's not about, you know, I mean, look at nature, the leaves. It's not just black and white. There's green and brown and all shades of different greens, and even every leaf is a different type shape and has different spots on it or whatever. The nature is diversity. Diversified unity, and that's what the astrology and the zodiac has taught me a lot about. There's different stages. Like there's the singularity, the point in the middle, which all things begin from and emanate from. and the horizontal plane, and then the vertical plane. Those are the 4 cardinal points, or the 4 cardinal directions if you're on the earth. You know, we have the north, south, east, and west. But what was I getting at? Because things that astrology has taught me about the diversity. Oh, there's the unity of that, and then there's the duality. There's always the polarity, like Aries is I am, and then Libra, the polarity of that is, you know, with balancing in relationship, and balancing the I am with the relation with others. And then each sign has that polarity. You always want to look at that in astrology and just keep that polarity in mind, because there's the duality, there's the triplicity, which is the cardinal fixed mutable, and then there's the quadruplicity, I guess you'd say. I don't know the right word to that, maybe. The quad, the 4. There's the 4 elements: fire, earth, air, and water. And then, as I mentioned, you know, the first 6 signs are polarities of the last 6 signs. So there's the duality, or the opposition in that, the opposite polarities. And where is life happen? And all these magnetic influences of the planets and the signs, bringing their magnetic angles of light into our experience. Where is that? What's in the middle? Is what the, you know, what's, what was that question? What's in the middle? You're from that point of reference. You know, there's always this plane of reference or point of reference. I don't know. I'm getting off on that a little bit, but it's very fascinating. Astrology has helped in a lot of ways, and just this last several months, and it's really clicked, and a lot of things have come together, and just saying like, wow, that does make sense. I mean, there's very, very real correlations here with our experience and how I feel with the cycles of the moon, for example. So anyway, I encourage people to look into astrology and learn the language. You have to learn, first of all, the alphabet of it. You learn the 12 signs and the 7 planets. That's the 22 letters of the astrological alphabet. And also tarot cards, actually. I'm looking at that as it also complements astrology in a lot of ways. And because the major arcana, there are 22 major arcana. That's a whole nother fascinating thing I've been just looking to this week and feeling how it feels. Isn't that cool, these little moss. So I guess just wanted to let people see my face and make a few comments about this thread, this Facebook, this controversy, you know, these challenges to our ego. And I myself got out of hand, you know, a little emotional and defensive and such, and that's all part of the picture. And I wanted to comment to that effect, because I guess particularly bring a focus is the Miriam Marmar Queen. I mean, your sister, man, I love you so much. It's just I'm try to express these words, or these pictures in my mind into words, is the challenge. And for whatever reason, I just went with that feeling to put that taglines about the vegan, you know, the government wants you to be vegan. I just went with that feeling. I wasn't even really like specifically intending on pushing anybody's buttons necessarily. Although, I guess it was. That's what happened. So I wanted to bring that as an example, and to get us to talk about this and contemplate this more, because, and one thing I've learned, even just my own interaction, is that when you try to, okay, and we made this point the other day in a little group about using humor and comedy to bring the truth to people, and beating people over the head with logical fallacies, basically, with ad hominem, type things. There is a place for that in bullet points, there may be a place for logical fallacies, but usually in logical conversations, you avoid those, and if we can all understand that list of logical fallacies and recognize when we ourselves are using it or when somebody else is, we can, try to refocus the conversation back to. So I don't know. It's so hard to have conversation these days because we're all twisted up in our own definitions. So it's not very hard to find the truth, although that's a common theme. It's so hard to find the truth in this world of just confusion and opposites. But in a sense, the truth is right there, right here, in the middle. What's in the middle? The truth converges, and it merges into and emanates from that point in the middle that is you, that the source of that electromagnetic field that emanates your body. We call it this auric field, which is densified into this physical body field of, I don't know, these things it's etheric philosophies of spirituality. It's really hard to frame into words. So the water thing, okay, we need to have natural water. And water in nature has bacteria in it. And this big scare, I think a lot of things that this guy in Germany is talking about, SV3 RIGE, Ridge, SV3 Ridge. I'm not sure what that is trying to spell or anything, but it's interesting. But his topic, I don't agree with everything he says. It's kind of weird and whatnot. But, man, there's some things here that we need to be taken into consideration, that our natural diet is a diverse diet. Yes, we walk around and we eat fruit, up here in the northern climates, I guess. I'm comparing, because if you're in the tropics, there's a lot different fruits and such that go down there. But up here in the northern climates, we subsist on a diversity of things, of small game or even bigger game like buffalo or deer, and but ideally we should eat those things raw. Not be, and get into the blood thing. This is the why. Why would they, there's this whole satanic thing is what I'm getting at, is this whole connection with blood drinking and sucking, whatever, sacrifice connected with Satanism, which we perceive as, and very rightly so. It's this, maybe, it's a lot of controversy and confusion and hidden things about it and we're fearful of it, obviously, for obvious reasons, as we don't want to be choosing the dark side, right? But this connection, I think there's something of power in the blood, and even the Bible says the life is in the blood. So I think there's something very real, interesting about this, how that we've demonized blood, and obviously you don't want to harm your fellow man and do these human sacrifice. I mean, that's just crazy, you know. But nature itself is really not so nice, you know. Sometimes if you're out in the wilderness or woods and stuff and you come upon a bear, or, you know, like you're just observing the behaviors of nature, you know, things are cruel sometimes and violent. But the violence doesn't have an anger. I think there's no, you know, that's the big difference, I think, between humans and animals, is that we have this concocted perceptions of language and concepts to bring on this whole level of emotions, other level, even higher than just the base survival emotions, like in feelings of pain, and like when a cow is separated from its calf, which is terrible at birth, you know. But in a farm situation, if you had a cow that had a calf, and if you did not milk that cow every day after, you know, because the cow can't drink enough of the milk that the mother's producing, especially if you have just one or two cows, you have to also milk the mama cow to keep her milk going, because if you don't, the milk stops. You're going to kill your calves because they're not gonna, you know, the mother's not going to produce milk. So what do you do with this excess milk? Well, you drink it and, you know, take the fat out of it and make butter and, you know, cream. So I don't find it too out of our human anatomy or capabilities to be utilizing raw milk. And this is a big distinction here, because our factory farmed garbage is fully pasteurized, high heat, it's boiled, or, you know, it's heated, and the homogenization is total, destroys the fat cells. It forces the milk through tiny orifices at very high pressure and destroys and really homogenizes the fat with the water in the milk. And this is total foreign substance. Your body has no idea what that is and what to do with it. So yes, in this sense, we should not drink any milk if you can't get raw milk. You know, and I'm kind of experimenting right now with some non-homogenized milk, because here in Louisiana, and this is a big ding, hello, red flag. There are at least 5 or 6 states right now, or it used to be a lot more, that raw milk is completely illegal. Like in California several years ago, before the law was passed or whatever, they literally raided a private buying club health food store that happened to sell raw milk and butter and cream. They raided this place with a SWAT team, with freaking assault, you know, rifles and full riot gear, and they raided the place. And really what they wanted to do is dump the milk out, because there were a few false reports, maybe 1 or 2 false reports of somebody getting sick by drinking the raw milk. Made up reports, absolutely. It's just such a farce and a ridiculous joke, this, you know, that they'd raid here's consenting adults joining this club and paying money for a membership specifically to access raw milk, basically, you know, and other healthful items that are raw and natural. The SWAT team comes in and raids them. I mean, what does this tell you about the power and, you know, how raw milk and cannabis and other natural things like, you know, like cannabis, that they war against and are now co-opting, and it's a big scary ordeal with the whole marijuana, which is a legal term, legalization. It's such a trap. They need to just forget about this. Is a plant in nature. You don't regulate and tax and control and, you know, require licensing to cultivate your and that's the marijuana is a legal term. It is entirely a legal term. It's a made-up word in the 30s to demonize cannabis.